So 4,000 years ago, 2000, also when the first new moon in March, the Babylonian one that I spoke about a little earlier, the Babylonian Akutu, following the first new moon in March, the Babylonians of Mesopotamia honored the rebirth of the natural world, worship of nature, with this festival. Statues of the gods were paraded through the city streets, and there were ceremonies symbolizing the victory over the forces of chaos. Sound familiar? This is also the ritual humiliation of the king on this day. Another root 2,000 years before Saturnalia was worshipped in Rome, the foundation of it, ritual humiliation of the king on this day. Then going into this day where they basically give the slaves a day to be the kings and queens and actually treat the hierarchy as if they're the slaves. And then we have Janus in ancient Rome. Rome, they love to party, guys. And in Rome, multiple celebrations, long celebrations actually. 2,000 years ago in Rome, years of tampering, and Janus, being the god of the new beginnings, years of tampering with the solar calendar eventually established the holiday on January the 1st. January carried a special significance, a lot of change and beginnings. Janus was seen as a symbolically looking back at the old and ahead to the new. So he had two faces. And this became tied to the transition from one year to the next. It was common for friends and neighbors to exchange well wishes on this day. According to the poet Ovid, most Romans also chose to work for at least part of New Year's Day, and idleness was seen as a bad omen for the rest of the year. So we are, in essence, living in the second Rome. Ancient Wepet Renepet. And in the background here is actually the star of Sirius, the Sirius star, even though it's a trinary star system. When Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, first became visible after a 70-day absence, usually mid-July, Wepet Renpet means opening of the year. The new year was seen as a time of rebirth and rejuvenation. Discoveries at the Temple of Mut showed that the first month of the year played host to a festival of drunkenness. This was tied to the myth of Sekhmet, a war goddess who had planned to kill all of humanity until the sun god, Ra, tricked her into drinking herself unconscious. The Egyptians would celebrate with music, sex, and alcohol. Other New Year celebrations, Chinese New Year, 3,000 years ago, we see the beginning of those celebrations for what we currently have now. Nowruz, which was in Iran, celebrated by the Zoroastrians. Evidence suggests this day was celebrated as far back as the 6th century BCE and all the way to 7th century CE. So let's all just take a moment here, guys, and I want to welcome and invite all of you all to, in this moment, take a deep breath in with me and exhale it to the heart. Let's take a deep breath in, shall we? Let it out. Let's do it again. Deep breath in and out. One more time for good luck. Deep breath in. This is a sacred presentation. We're speaking about ancient times here. We're speaking about the stories of how we got to who we are and why we do the things that we do. There's been shifts in our reality, in astrology, in the alignments of the stars that has created times of years, times and centuries in which we paid reverence to different elements on Earth and in the stars. Whether it's Sirius, like we just saw from ancient Kemet, Egypt, whether it's the Earth itself and the elements of Earth, or the blossoming of the seasons, or when we look at ancient religions that actually are sun-worshipping religions, worshiping the sun, that came from a reverence to the sun, but as we fell from grace, as we devolved, as we entered the Kali Yuga, became ritualistic and became worshiping and asking for, please help me, rather than the reverence and the beauty and the gratitude for the elements. We went from a place of gratitude from the elements of all creation, not just Earth, but all stars, Sirius, sun, everything, to please help me, sun, please help me, God, right? And then Christianity, the major religion of Christmas at this point, coming from this pagan world. That is actually a continuation of sun worshiping, in which has been under the disguise of a personified deity that was the Son of God, that is actually the S-U-N of God, the Son itself. Not to say that Jesus didn't exist, because I think Yeshua did, and all the symbolism was combined. But this gives us a perfect segue into speaking about sun worshiping and how it connects, because the solstice, let alone Christmas and New Year's. What is New Year's? Well, it's a representation of one holy lap around the sun. What is Christmas? Well, it's a representation of the birth of the Son, Jesus. Okay? Even though the sun resurrects over 3 days, like the resurrection of Christ, it's a representation of the sun being reborn after 3 days of the darkest days of the year. Rebirthing of the sun. That leads into New Year's, which is the beginning of a whole new lap around it. We can track sun worshiping ritual in Mesopotamia called Babylonian Akitu. That's what I just showed you, 4,000 years ago. Christmas, solstice celebration, New Year's Day, sun worshiping day, all sun worshiping days. Remember Amun Ra or Amun Ra, right? It became Amen later. Ra Amun, Ra Amun, Ra from Egypt, the sun god from Egypt, right? Sun god from Egypt's last name or first name, however you want to say it, Amen, which came from Amun, then became the closing prayer for Christianity and Judaism. I don't know if they have in Judaism, but Christianity, Amen. Amen, utilizing Christianity, was the name connected to Ra, that was the sun god. Now it's utilized in Christianity to end a prayer in which we're worshiping the Son of God. Seeing all the symbolism connect here. The Egyptian sun god, Ra, Amen. So obviously we've been worshiping the sun for quite some time. Sun worshiping can be traced back at least 4,000 years, which is 2,000 years before Christ, right? And there were other civilizations before that worshiped other things, other constellations, the Star of Sirius, the Dogon tribe in India, different places. And then I'm sure there were other times where the sun was worshipped again. And this connects to the zodiac, the precession of the equinoxes, and whatever zodiac is predominant in the sky at the time. Right now, when we just exited Pisces, we're entering Aquarius. All of this is connected. The sun god became the Son of God. We see in many ancient civilizations a movement to pick one god, and in most cases, it was the sun god or god of Saturn. So as we see the evolution occur to polytheistic religions from pagan world to a monotheistic religion, we see that there's actually multiple gods, and then one god is chosen out of the many, right? In the ancient Sumerian scriptures, it says, choose me out of the many, the Elohim, many gods, which is a plural, Yahweh being selected, right? And then as that one God. So we see that the one God chosen in many times was either the sun god or the god of Saturn, and sometimes they were interchangeable. So sun worshiping pre-Christianity. Even though there was sun worship and that many have been the main god, like the sun had been the main god, different gods worshiped different gods, and different people worship different gods at different times. They would rise and fall. There would be, in ancient Egypt, lasting for thousands of years, maybe even back as far as 13,000 years or beyond, because of the new information about the Sphinx and how old the Sphinx is. They went through different constellations, different zodiacs, different precession of the equinoxes, and different cycles of time in which different deities would rise and fall. Different gods would be worshipped at different moments. Even though we may think of polytheistic civilizations, many have worshipped the sun. We worship the sun now more than ever, and the majority of the people on the planet are blind to this fact. It's all right to worship the sun. It gives us light. It's the light over the darkness. It's the conquering. We are like moths to a flame, guys. We're looking at the sun, worshiping it. It gives us light. It gives us, we are plants, and we're receiving photosynthesis from the sun. So it's okay to look at the sun and pay reverence to it. But what maybe not be okay, and what allows us to be controlled, is how blind we are to it. We've created matrices within matrices. We personified this planet and put it with myths of other avatars that existed. And then the stories became just of those stories of those individuals. And we forget the nature element, what this all came from. Nature isn't just Earth. Nature are the stars. Nature is the moon. Nature is the sun. Everything that fuels nature on this planet is a part of us organically. The celebration of New Year's is never once commanded in the Bible. Jesus and the apostles never even observed it. Moses forbade it. They were moving away from sun worshiping. It was a part of the original avatar thing. So for us to even connect the sun to this, when these avatars and stories of them were that they didn't even want to really pay reverence to these ancient ways that they didn't believe are true and true alignment to what the real thing is, which is not the worshiping, but is the reverence and the gratitude for its existence. But with all of that being said, I want to say, what is there to ponder? Okay. What does all this mean for us? Will there be days when we stop worshiping the sun? And will the solstice celebration and New Year's Day celebrations go because of this? What will happen once we become conscious of how blind we have followed these rituals? What will happen when we become conscious of how blind we follow these rituals? Will it add more to us since we could be more intentional with it? Like all the things I said with Christmas? Will it give us more of an attention? Will we change these beliefs? Will we change the way that we operate? Instead of worshiping the sun, maybe we'll give reverence and gratitude to it, but not base our existence on its worship. Instead of worshiping the sun, maybe we can give reverence to it and gratitude, but not base our existence on the worship, the lap. Please help me. Please, Son of God. Please, Son of God. Please take away these pains from me. How, victimhood. So what is it? Could we lead with this awareness? Can we shift from victimhood to conscious creators? What comes after sun worship? Okay, and I'm going to end with this one. If we look at ancient cultures, we talk about the central sun. Mayas talk about it. So many other cultures talk about the central sun. A lot of people think that we're talking about the actual sun being the center of our solar system. But no, the central sun actually represents the black hole in the center of our galaxy. So what I want to close this with is that we're moving away from the worship of the sun and the limitations of just our localized solar systematic community to the understanding, the power, and the potential of the central sun, in which all these other systems and beings and ETs and star beings and planets and systems are rotating around. So we're in a process from moving out of sun worship that's been going on for thousands of years into what I call galactic reverence. So thank you all so much for listening to me, tuning into this today. And I just want to say, Mary Mushroom, Christ Consciousness, Spiritual Awakening, Tree of Life, Pagan, Sun, Seasonal Awakening, Santa Claustrum, Spinal Fluid Reverence Day /period. I appreciate you all. Love you all so much.